wanted to say. It's here too. Chap Petersen, go ahead.
All right.
We're glad you could join us.
I thank you, John and Mary Ann and everyone else. I just have, I've been sitting here listening to all these speeches, which has been good because it's given me a chance to fill out this evaluation form. I recommend you all do that. I was at very good, and then I moved it to excellent just a couple speakers ago. So. And the speakers were helpful to me, by the way.
Keep talking.
Yes, sir. All right. Listen, it's an honor to be here. I just was with Mark throwing out the first pitch at the Little League today. You know, when I see this crowd and I hear the agenda, it always reminds me of the words of a utopian philosopher about 2,000 years ago who said the following. He was speaking to a large audience. He said, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me. He has anointed me to bring good news to the poor, to bring recovery of sight to the blind, to set the captive free, and proclaim the acceptable year of the Lord." He was actually quoting from another earlier philosopher named Isaiah. And I always use those words. And by the way, I don't get the Bible app on my phone. I was trying to, but I'm doing this from memory. That I think in the Gospel of Luke, it really summarizes what this organization is about, what a lot of us try and bring to our service in the legislature, because it's not the salary, it's not the benefits. Basically, you know, it's so you can make a difference in people's lives, and that's what we're trying to do. I had a few pieces of legislation. I made a comment a month ago that either I'm getting smarter or other people are coming down to my level, because I actually had some significant bills passed in the Assembly this year. And I think a few of them are actually really on point with what you all are trying to accomplish, or what we're jointly trying to accomplish. One of them was Senate Bill 891, which I call the Good Samaritan bill, kind of keeping with the biblical theme here. And it has to do with young people, typically, that are in situations of distress because they've either taken a drug overdose or they are intoxicated in a dangerous way, and they're with friends. And rather than call 911 or take this person to an emergency room or call the police or whatever needs to happen, basically everybody freezes, and oftentimes that victim is abandoned, and oftentimes goes into arrest and dies when they could have been saved. And so Senate Bill 891 was designed to deal with that situation where you have a Good Samaritan that takes this person and calls 911 or takes him to a hospital, takes him to an emergency room, that the Good Samaritan themselves, if they're either underage or in possession of illegal narcotics, they will not be charged. Now, it doesn't cover situations of a felony or distribution, but it does cover those situations where you have a possession situation. And again, the point being is that we're trying to incentivize people to do the right thing and take away what would otherwise be an obstacle to perhaps saving the life, typically, of a young person. So, got that bill passed. Delegate Betsy Carr of Richmond had it on the House side. Did some hard bargaining with some of my friends in the House of Delegates. Basically, we were able to get something done, which was about 95% of what I wanted, and I'm very proud that that got signed into law by the governor. I think a bill Alfonso talked about earlier, and I'll give him 100% credit for taking the lead on this, was redefining small business in Virginia. I actually sit on the Government Procurement Commission. One of the disadvantages of now being in the legislature for 14 years is that I've been appointed to commissions that have actual authority, which is great in that I have actual authority. The downside is I actually have to go to the meetings. So the bottom line is I was in a position where I could push Alfonso's concept in the Senate, and we got it adopted. It has to be reenacted next year, but once that does happen, what I'm hoping and what I expect will happen is the small business laws in Virginia will be standardized with the federal standard, and you'll see much better small business opportunities for minority-owned businesses, women-owned businesses, and just small businesses in general to really break into state contracting, which is a multi-billion dollar a year enterprise. Another bill that I had, just looking at my notes here, was, well, I'll get to license plate readers in a second. One bill that I had that was not successful was the tax on plastic bags. I'm an environmental guy, and I don't say that to sort of promote myself. I say that because I spent a lot of my childhood on a farm down in southern Virginia, right at the mouth of the Rappahannock and the Chesapeake, and my family still owns that farm. And Chesapeake Bay, of course, has been sort of up and down in terms of its health. But one of the things that we can do to really try and improve the Chesapeake is try and keep plastic bags out of the water stream. And one of the ideas that Adam had the lead on this, but was to put a tax on plastic bags so people will actually reuse bags and therefore keep them out of our trash stream and keep them out of the watershed. And I had a bill that would have applied 5 cents per bag for either grocery or convenience stores. It died, but ironically, a very similar bill from a Republican senator actually passed the Senate. Now, it washed up in the House, but I thought that was good. I think Barbara made the comment earlier that lots of times you'll introduce an idea and it will get shot down, but then a similar idea passes. And, you know, it's the old saying, it really doesn't matter. You can get a lot accomplished, you really don't care who gets the credit. So the bottom line is that was a good idea. My bill was a good idea. And I think if we're a couple years away from seeing legislation will be similar to actually what they have in both North Carolina and Maryland to really cut back on that. I'm going to talk a little bit about license plate readers. This is really a new technology that's come along in the last 3 or 4 years. It was an initiative that came out of the Department of Homeland Security to essentially enable law enforcement to scan license plates and data bank that information and basically use it at their discretion at later times. And to me, it was a very insidious technology. It meant that a police cruiser could, for example, come through this parking lot, scan all the plates that are in the parking lot, and immediately match them up against arrest records or parking tickets or whatever they want. So it's extremely arbitrary. And by the way, I know this is probably more of a Democratic group. They could go to a meeting of the NRA and do the same thing. To me, it gives far too much power to police to make these types of judgments. And it really bothered me. And the Attorney General a couple years ago actually came out with an opinion which said that the state police could not use it based on existing state law. However, a lot of our local police departments in Fairfax, Prince William, and Arlington went ahead and used the technology anyway. So in 2014, with the request of the ACLU, myself and Rich Anderson, who's a Republican from Woodbridge, put in a companion bill to basically limit or eliminate the use of license plate readers. Now, we put it in, and then we took it back for a year because I said, you know, I need to know this issue. So we carried it over for a year. I met with either the chief or the representative of every major police department in Northern Virginia. I spoke to all sorts of groups like this one. I actually went on ride-alongs with LPRs where they're being used, so I had a chance to actually see the technology and see the data bank. And it came back with a bill that basically would restrict the use of license plate readers or any similar surveillance technology, whether they're scanning a VIN number or scanning somebody walking down the street, would restrict that use, except that they could keep it for 7 days so they could find out if it's relevant to an investigation, and then afterwards they could keep it if it was related to a pending criminal investigation or a missing persons report or some other type of lawful purpose. But what they couldn't do is just indiscriminately gather information, data bank it, and decide months, years later whether or not they wanted it. That was the bill we put in. It passed by a very narrow margin of 38-0 in the Senate, and by a similar narrow margin, I think, of 91-6 in the House. Afterwards, we took it in the conference committee and actually took it from any technology that sort of indiscriminately collected information and narrowed it down to surveillance technology. And that bill, my bill at least, passed unanimously in both bodies. Very exciting. I thought this is a real step forward for what I like to call colloquially the right to be left alone. Unfortunately, the bill's been amended by the governor in a way that almost takes what had been illegal and now makes legal. He's actually changed that 7 to 30 days, John saying time. So I'm going to be going pretty soon. But the bottom line is that we're going to go back and discuss that amendment. I'm very much not in favor of the governor's amendments. I'm hoping to bring the governor on board. I think one of the things I want to make is, as citizens, we're free, and we have the right to really be free from this type of scrutiny, at least particularly when there's no rational reason for it. So anyways, that's just the ups and downs of what I've been up to. As always, it's a great honor to be here. I'll just simply close with the same words of the same philosopher again with it, just say, go in peace. Thank you very much.